The baby shower was happening in the backyard of Camilla's house in Denver. 50 guests, pink and gold decorations, an elaborate dessert table. Fernanda was sitting in the main chair, 6 months pregnant, smiling as she opened gifts. Next to her, her fiancé Rafael, 29 years old, a civil engineer. They were to marry in 2 months, perfect timing for the baby to be born 3 months after the wedding. All planned, all perfect, until Vanessa arrived, Rafael's ex-girlfriend. 2-year relationship that had ended 18 months ago. She wasn't invited, but she entered anyway, red dress at a pink party, confident, determined, and when everyone was gathered, when Fernanda was holding a teddy bear she had just received, Vanessa spoke, loud, clear, for all to hear. This is a farce. Fernanda is not pregnant by Rafael. She's pregnant by another man, and I can prove it. Absolute silence. 50 faces turning, Fernanda turning white. And Rafael, rising from the chair next to her, looking not at Vanessa but at his fiancée, with an expression Fernanda had never seen, doubt, anger, betrayal. And before Fernanda could say anything, before she could defend herself, Rafael did something that would change everything. "Get out," he said to Fernanda. Icy voice. "Get out of my house, now." And when the DNA test finally arrived, weeks later, when the truth was revealed, it would be too late. Because some words once spoken cannot be taken back. Some accusations once made destroy everything, and Fernanda was about to learn that in the most painful way possible. Before we continue with this thrilling story, subscribe to this channel to always receive special stories like this one, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. 6 months before that devastating moment at the baby shower, Fernanda was at the doctor's office receiving news that would change her life. "Congratulations," said the doctor with a smile. "You're pregnant. Approximately 6 weeks." Fernanda was in shock, happy, scared. She and Rafael had started trying only 3 months ago. They thought it would take longer. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. See here on the ultrasound. Small still, but there it is. Your baby." Fernanda looked at the screen, at the tiny dot that was the beginning of a life, and began to cry. Tears of happiness, of anticipation, of love already deep. "When can I tell my fiancé?" "Whenever you want. But I suggest waiting until 12 weeks to announce to everyone. The first weeks are delicate." Fernanda could hardly wait. She planned the perfect reveal. Special dinner, little gift box with the pregnancy test inside, and baby shoes. When Rafael opened it, when he saw his expression was everything Fernanda expected. Shock, joy, tears. "Seriously? We're having a baby?" "We are. You're going to be a dad." He picked her up, spinning, laughing, crying. "This is the best news, the best thing that has ever happened." And in the following months, everything was magical. Rafael went to every appointment, bought books on fatherhood, painted the baby's room. He was so involved, so present, so happy. His family loved the news. Rafael's parents were emotional. It would be the first grandchild. His sister, Camilla, offered to host the baby shower. Everything was a celebration. But then Vanessa appeared, 3 months of pregnancy, at a mutual friend's birthday party. "Rafael," she greeted, looking at Fernanda. "And you must be the fiancée, Fernanda, right?" "Right. Heard you're pregnant. Congratulations. Quick, isn't it? How long have you been together? 8 months?" There was something in her tone, something that made Fernanda uncomfortable. 9 months. And yes, the baby was a good surprise. "I bet it was." Vanessa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And when she walked away, Fernanda commented to Rafael, "Your ex is interesting. She's complicated. It didn't end well between us. She didn't want to break up." "Why did you break up?" "Because it wasn't right. She wanted to get married, have children. But I didn't. I didn't feel what I should feel. I didn't love her as she deserved." "And she accepted?" "Eventually, but it was difficult, dramatic, and clearly she hasn't completely moved on." Fernanda should have paid more attention at that moment, should have seen the warning signs. But she was happy, focused on the pregnancy, and she didn't imagine Vanessa would become a problem. But Vanessa was watching, calculating, and when she saw Rafael happy, about to marry, having the baby he always wanted, with someone else, something in her broke, or maybe something in her had always been broken, and she decided to destroy. It started small, comments on social media. Funny how fast things happen sometimes, almost as if they were planned. Then, messages to mutual friends. Don't you think it's strange? They barely know each other and they're already having a baby. And then, more direct, a message to Raphael's sister, Camilla. I know it's none of my business, but I think you should know. Fernanda has a history. Before Raphael, she was with another guy, serious. And the timing of the pregnancy, I don't know, it seems suspicious. Camilla, loyal to her brother, showed the message to Raphael. Vanessa is saying things. About Fernanda. About the baby. Raphael was furious. She's crazy, we ignore it. But what if nothing? Fernanda wouldn't lie. Not about this. But the seed of doubt was planted. Small. But there. When Fernanda mentioned she had had a relationship before Raphael, a relationship that had ended badly a year ago, Raphael asked, "How long before us?" "A year." "Why?" "Just curiosity." But it wasn't just curiosity. It was doubt beginning to grow. 5 months pregnant, Vanessa escalated, called Raphael directly. "I need to tell you something as a friend, as someone who cares about you." "Vanessa, we're not friends. And if it's about Fernanda, it is. And you need to hear it. She lied to you. About everything." "About what?" "About the pregnancy. About who the father is." "Raphael, I did some research. Fernanda was with another guy a year ago, Diego, and they broke up exactly 9 months before the baby is due. That doesn't prove anything." "No? What if I told you I saw her with him 7 months ago, when you were already together?" Raphael felt a chill. "You're lying." "Am I? Then why has she never mentioned him? Why didn't she tell you her ex is still around?" "Because it doesn't matter. He's in the past." "Or he's the present and the future, because this baby could be his. And you're about to marry a woman pregnant by another man." Raphael hung up, furious. But the doubt was growing, infecting everything. And when he asked Fernanda about Diego, when she confirmed that yes, they had broken up a year ago, that no, she hadn't kept in touch, he saw hesitation. Small, but there. "Are you sure that you didn't see him?" "I am." "Why are you asking this?" "Because Vanessa said she saw you together. She's lying, she's trying to cause trouble." "So you never saw Diego after you broke up?" Fernanda hesitated, and in that hesitation, everything changed. I saw him once, by chance, at the mall. We talked for 5 minutes, nothing more." "And you didn't tell me?" "Because it didn't matter. It was a casual conversation. 'Hi, how are you? Bye.'" "But you lied, by omission." "I didn't lie. I just didn't mention an irrelevant encounter." But to Raphael it was a lie. And combined with Vanessa's insinuations, it became evidence in his mind. On the day of the baby shower, Raphael was already spiraling, doubts consuming him. And when Vanessa appeared, when she made her public, devastating accusation, something in him broke. This is a farce. Fernanda is not pregnant by Raphael, she's pregnant by another man. And I can prove it. Fernanda stood up, pregnant and slow, looking at Vanessa with horror. "That's a lie, how dare you?" "Is it a lie?" interrupted Vanessa. "Then explain why you were with Diego 6 months ago, why he called you last week, and why the baby seems to have been conceived exactly when you were still with him." "I wasn't with him. I had already broken up. But you saw him, you spoke to him, and you're pregnant with a baby that could be his." Raphael was standing now, looking at Fernanda, and there was a coldness in his eyes that she had never seen. "Is it true? Diego called you?" "He did. Once. To return something I had left at his apartment a year ago. It was nothing. And you didn't tell me about that either. Because it didn't matter. Everything matters, every little lie, every omission. And now I'm here at the baby shower of a child that might not be mine." "It is yours. Of course it's yours. Raphael, you can't believe her. She's trying to destroy us." But Raphael was beyond reason. Months of Vanessa's insinuations had done their work, and this public accusation was the final straw. "Get out," he said. Dead voice, cold. "Get out of my house, now. Raphael, don't. Now. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear your lies. Get out." Fernanda was crying. 50 guests watching in horror, and no one moving, no one defending her. Camilla finally spoke. "Fernanda, I think you better go. Let Raphael calm down." But I didn't do anything. The baby is his. How can you believe her instead of me? Because you lied, shouted Raphael. About Diego, about talking, about the call. And if you lied about that, what else did you lie about? Fernanda looked around, at faces that had been friendly minutes ago, now cold, judgmental, believing Vanessa instead of her, and she realized she had lost without defending herself, without being heard, judged and condemned in minutes. Fine, she said, voice breaking. I'll leave. But when the truth comes out, when the DNA test proves I'm right, I want you to remember this moment, how you treated me, how you believed lies instead of me. She left, pregnant, humiliated, alone, and left behind the life she had built, the fiancé she loved, the future she had planned. In the following days, Raphael didn't answer her calls, blocked her on everything, and when Fernanda went to get her things from the apartment they shared, he wasn't there. Just boxes with her clothes by the door. And a note, "Don't come back ever again." Fernanda's mother was furious when she found out. How dare he? How dare he believe a crazy ex instead of you? Because she planted doubts. And I didn't tell him about the encounter with Diego, about the call. Small omissions that became big lies in his head. But the baby is his. You know it. And when the test proves, will he get a test? He's not even talking to me. How can I convince him? And that was the problem. Raphael had completely shut down, and Fernanda was alone. 6 months pregnant. No fiancé, no home, no future she had imagined. 2 weeks after the baby shower, Raphael's lawyer sent a letter requesting a paternity test as soon as the baby was born. Until then, the letter said, Mr. Raphael will have no contact with Miss Fernanda, and he asks that you respect this decision. Fernanda cried reading it, because it meant 3 months. 3 months alone. 3 months without his support. 3 months to prove an innocence that should have been obvious. But it also meant hope, because the test would prove, scientifically, undisputedly, that the baby was Raphael's. And then he would have to apologize, would have to acknowledge his mistake, but 3 months felt like an eternity. Meanwhile, Vanessa was triumphant. She had succeeded. She had destroyed the relationship. She had taken Raphael from Fernanda, but her victory was short-lived, because 2 weeks after the baby shower, Raphael confronted her. You said you could prove it, that you had evidence the baby wasn't mine. I do. Then show me, now. Because if you're lying, if you did this out of jealousy, Vanessa hesitated, and Raphael saw doubt, saw lie. You have nothing. You made it all up. I didn't make it up. I saw her with Diego. I heard the call. How did you hear the call? I was nearby when she answered. Nearby? Or were you stalking her? Stalking us? Vanessa went quiet, and the guilt on her face said it all. Oh God, whispered Raphael. You did this, destroyed everything. Out of jealousy, out of revenge. Because you should have been mine. We were going to get married, have children, and you left me for her. Because I didn't love you, and you did this. You destroyed an innocent woman because you're obsessed with me. She's not innocent. She trapped you with the pregnancy. Or she gave me a gift you never could. Because I want this baby. I want a family, but with someone I love. And it wasn't you. Vanessa was crying now. But the baby might not be yours. Or it might. And I kicked out the mother of my child because of your lies, because of doubts you planted. Raphael left there destroyed, because he realized he had made a mistake. A gigantic mistake. He had expelled Fernanda, believed Vanessa. And now Fernanda wouldn't talk to him, wouldn't answer. And he deserved that silence, but he had to try. He had to discover the truth. And if the baby was his, and something deep in him said it was, he had to correct his mistake. He tried calling. Messages, nothing. Fernanda had blocked him too, just retaliation. So he went to her mother's house. Mrs. Regina answered the door with an icy expression. What do you want? To talk to Fernanda, please. 5 minutes. No, you made a choice. You believed lies. You kicked my pregnant daughter out of your house in front of 50 people, and now you want to talk? I know I was wrong. I made a terrible mistake. But I need to know about the baby. The baby is yours, as it always was, as Fernanda always said, but you didn't believe. Because I was an idiot, because I let doubts consume me. And now I've lost her. Regina studied him and saw real remorse, but also saw the pain he had caused. She doesn't want to see you, and I respect her decision. So no, you won't talk to her. Not now. Maybe never. But the test, there will be a test, when the baby is born, as your lawyer requested, and then you'll know, scientifically, what your heart should have already told you. The door closed, and Raphael stood there realizing he had lost everything, by listening to the wrong person, by doubting the right person. And there were still 3 months until the baby was born, 3 months until the test, 3 months until the truth. But before we continue and discover what the DNA test reveals, and if Raphael can win Fernanda back, leave your like here on the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new story. Do you think Fernanda can forgive Raphael? Is the baby really his? And what would you do in her place? Give a second chance. Also tell me which city you're watching this video from, and I'll mark your comment with a special heart. Now, let's get back to our story. The following 3 months were the longest of Fernanda's life. Pregnant, alone, preparing for the baby's arrival without the father by her side. Every doctor's appointment was a reminder. Every baby item she bought was pain, because she should have been doing this with Raphael, but Raphael had made a choice, had believed lies, and now Fernanda was alone, except not completely alone. Her mother, Regina, was there, always strong, supportive. "You don't need him," she would say. "The baby will have love, your love, my love, that's what matters." But Fernanda wanted the baby to have the father's love too, and part of her, a part she hated to admit, still loved Raphael, even after everything. 2 weeks before the due date, Fernanda was at an appointment when the doctor frowned looking at the monitor. "Is everything okay?" asked Fernanda, worried. "Yes, it's okay, but the baby is in position, and you're starting to dilate lightly. I think this little girl is in a hurry." "A hurry? There are still 2 weeks left. Babies have their own schedule. I suggest being prepared. It could be sooner than you think." Fernanda left the appointment nervous and alone, because when labor started, she wouldn't have Raphael to hold her hand, to breathe with her, to be there when her daughter was born. 3 days later, at 2 in the morning, contractions started. Strong, regular, and Fernanda knew it was time. "Mom," she called. "It's starting." Regina took her to the hospital, and in the following hours, as the pain increased, as the contractions got closer, Fernanda thought of Raphael, constantly, wishing he were there, hating that he wasn't, and hating even more that part of her still wanted him there. 12 hours of labor, 12 hours of pain, and finally, at 2 in the afternoon, the baby arrived. "It's a girl," announced the doctor. "Healthy. Perfect." When they placed the baby in Fernanda's arms, when she looked at the tiny face, everything else disappeared. Pain, anger, loneliness. There was only love, absolute, unconditional. "Hello, Helena," whispered Fernanda, the name she had chosen after her grandmother. "Welcome to the world." Helena had dark eyes, black hair, and when she opened her eyes for the first time, Fernanda saw. She saw Raphael in her, the eye shape, the expression, and she knew once again that this baby was his, always had been. "She looks like him," said Regina softly. "There's no doubt. I know, and he'll know too, when the test proves." The test was scheduled for 3 days after birth. Time for Helena to stabilize, time to collect samples, and time for Fernanda to emotionally prepare to see Raphael for the first time in 3 months. On the morning of the test, Raphael arrived at the hospital with his lawyer, formal, distant. But when the nurse brought Helena in for collection, when he saw the baby for the first time, something in his expression changed. It softened, broke, and there were tears in his eyes. She is perfect," he whispered. "She is," agreed Fernanda, holding Helena protectively. "And she's yours, as she always was." Raphael didn't respond, just looked at the baby, at the woman he had expelled, and the weight of his mistake was clear on his face. The collection was quick. Swab on Helena's cheek, swab on Raphael's cheek, and then the wait. 5 to 7 days for results. "I'll call when they arrive," the lawyer told Fernanda, "and then we discuss next steps." "Next steps?" repeated Fernanda. "You mean when it proves I'm innocent? When it proves I never lied? Those next steps?" The lawyer had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Miss Fernanda, I understand you're upset." "Upset? I was publicly accused of cheating, kicked out of the house pregnant, blocked by the father of my baby. I spent 3 months alone. And you think I'm upset?" Raphael finally spoke. "Fernanda, No, you don't talk to me. Not now. You waited for a test to believe me, so wait for the result. And then maybe I'll consider listening to apologies." She left, Helena in her arms, leaving Raphael there, with the weight of guilt and regret. 6 days later, the call came. The lawyer, careful voice. "Miss Fernanda, the results are in." Her heart raced. Even knowing the truth, she was nervous. "And the paternity test shows a 99% probability that Raphael is the biological father of Helena." Relief, anger, vindication, all at once. "So it's proven, scientifically, unquestionably, that I always told the truth." "Yes, and Mr. Raphael would like to speak with you personally. To discuss." "Discuss what? Custody? Visitation? Because if you think after everything I'll just hand over my daughter easily. It's not about that. It's about apologies, real ones, and trying to correct the mistake." Fernanda hesitated. Part of her wanted to refuse, make him suffer like she had suffered, but part of her, the part that still loved the idiot who was Helena's father, wanted to hear, wanted to see if the remorse was real. "One meeting with my mother present, in a neutral location, and he has 10 minutes. I agree to the terms." They met at a cafe, Fernanda with Helena in her lap, Regina by her side, and Raphael arriving 15 minutes early, looking nervous and destroyed. When he sat down, when he looked at Fernanda and Helena, the first thing he did was cry. "I'm sorry," he said, voice breaking. "So sorry, more than you can imagine. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, unforgivable, and I have no excuse. None." Fernanda stayed quiet, letting him continue. "Vanessa planted doubts, but I let them grow. I chose to believe her instead of you. I chose to doubt. And when she made that public accusation, I panicked and did the worst possible thing. You expelled me," said Fernanda, icy voice, "in front of 50 people, 6 months pregnant, with your baby. You expelled me like I was trash. I know, and I will carry that forever. I will carry the look on your face, the crying, the humiliation, and the fact that I lost 3 months of the pregnancy, lost ultrasounds, appointments, preparation. I lost everything because I was cowardly. You were worse than cowardly. You were cruel and unfair, and you judged me without giving me a chance to defend myself." Raphael nodded. "All true, and I can't change that. I can't go back, but I can. I can try to be better from now on, for Helena, for you, if you let me." "Why should I? Why should I give a chance after everything?" "You shouldn't. I don't deserve it, but Helena deserves a father, a present father, who loves her, who wants to be in her life, and I want that, desperately." Fernanda looked at Helena, at the little face sleeping peacefully. "You want to be a father, but you don't want to be my partner. You don't want to be with me." Raphael looked directly into her eyes. "I do. I want everything. You, Helena, family. But I understand if you don't want to. I understand if you can never forgive. So if you just let me be a father, be present for Helena, that's already more than I deserve." Regina, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "And Vanessa? What happened to her? I never spoke to her again. Blocked her on everything, and I got a restraining order for stalking, for harassment, for everything she did." "That doesn't undo the damage," Regina observed. "No, nothing undoes it, but it's a start. And I'm in therapy, working on why I let myself be manipulated, why I didn't trust, why I was so weak." Fernanda studied him and saw genuine remorse, but she also saw the pain he had caused, and she didn't know if it was enough. "I need time," she finally said, "to process, to decide. But you can see Helena, supervised visits first, to establish a connection. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, because if you hurt her, if you fail her like you failed me, it's over, forever. Understood?" "Understood, and I promise, I will never fail her." In the following months, Raphael visited religiously, twice a week, always punctual, always present. He brought diapers, clothes, toys. And more importantly, he brought time, attention, love. Fernanda watched and saw the father he was becoming, careful, gentle, completely in love with Helena. And slowly, very slowly, her anger began to soften, not disappear, but soften. He's a good father, she admitted to her mother 3 months after Helena's birth. He is, but that doesn't erase what he did. It doesn't erase. But people make mistakes, terrible mistakes. And if they really regret, if they really change, don't they deserve a second chance? It depends. Do you want to give a second chance because you think he changed, or because you still love him? Fernanda thought honestly. Both. And is that a problem? It's not a problem, but it's complicated. Because if you go back to him, it has to be because you trust, really trust. Not because you want a perfect family for Helena. And if I can trust again, eventually, then take your time, test him, and see if he really changed, or if he'll doubt again the first time someone plants doubt. 6 months after Helena's birth, Raphael asked to speak. Serious, important. They met at the park, Helena sleeping in the stroller, and Raphael nervous in a way Fernanda hadn't seen since the original marriage proposal. I needed to tell you something, he began. I'm listening. These last 6 months, being Helena's father, seeing you, thinking about everything, I realized something. I realized I want more. Not just visitation, not just co-parenting, I want a family for real. Fernanda felt her heart race. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. Still. Always. And I know I messed up everything. I know I have a long road ahead to regain your trust, but I want to try if you let me. I want to date again. Start over. The right way this time. The right way. With trust. Real communication. Without letting others plant doubts. With you as priority. Always. Fernanda wanted to say yes immediately, but there was a wound. Deep. That still hadn't completely healed. I need time, she said. More time. To be sure you changed. That you won't abandon me again. However much time you need, I'll wait. I'll prove it. Every day. That I changed. That I trust. That you and Helena are everything. And he proved it. For 6 more months. Visiting, helping, being present. And slowly, Fernanda began to believe. Really believe. 1 year after Helena's birth, they tried. Their first real date in 2 years. Simple dinner. Helena with grandma. It was strange, nervous, like teenagers on a first date. But there was also familiarity, shared history, and a baby they loved. I missed you, said Raphael. Every day, every moment. Even when I was seeing Helena, I was missing you. I missed you too, even when I was angry. Even when I swore I'd never forgive. I still missed you. So where does that leave us? It leaves us trying, slowly, rebuilding trust, seeing if it can work. And they tried. For months, regular dates, honest conversations, and couples therapy. Fernanda's insistence. If we're going to do this, she said, we do it right, with professional help, working through the trauma. I agree completely. In therapy, truths came out, pains were expressed, and slowly, through hard work and brutal honesty, they began to heal. You hurt me, Fernanda said in a session. In a way I never thought possible to be hurt, and part of me is still afraid that it will happen again, that you will doubt again. I understand that fear, Raphael replied, and I can't guarantee I'll never make a mistake, but I can guarantee I'll never doubt you again. I'll never let others plant doubts, because I learned, the hardest way, what I lose when I do that. But how do I know? How do I really know? The therapist intervened. Fernanda, trust isn't certainty. It's a choice to believe based on consistent actions. And Raphael has been showing for over a year consistent actions, presence, reliability, change. So the question isn't, how do I know for sure? It's, am I willing to choose to trust based on the evidence I have? Fernanda thought, and realized she had evidence. A year of consistent behavior, a year of Raphael being the father he promised to be, the partner he said he would be. I'm willing, she finally said. I'm willing to choose to trust, to try again, really try. Raphael had tears in his eyes. I won't waste this chance. I promise. 2 years after Helena's birth, 3 years after the devastating accusation at the baby shower, they got married. Again. Or technically, for the first time, they had never gotten around to marrying before. Small ceremony, just close family, no drama, no 50 guests, just people who really mattered. And Helena, now 2 years old, was the flower girl, pink dress, rose petals scattering, smiling at her parents. During the vows, Raphael said, "Fernanda, I made the worst mistake of my life when I doubted you, when I expelled you, when I didn't fight for us, and I spent 2 years proving to you and to myself that I changed, that I trust, that I love you more than my own fear. And today I promise, there will never be doubt again. I will never let anyone plant poison between us, because you are everything, you and Helena, my family, my life." Fernanda replied, "Raphael, you hurt me deeply, and forgiving was a long process, painful, but I learned that forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's choosing to move forward. And I choose you, not because I forgot, but because I see who you became. And I love that person, and I trust that person, and I want to build a life with that person." There wasn't a dry eye at the ceremony. Vanessa wasn't there. She never would be. She had tried contact a few times, apology messages, requests for forgiveness, but Raphael had maintained the restraining order, and Fernanda never wanted to see her. "She destroyed almost everything," Fernanda said when the subject came up. "And I won't give her the satisfaction of forgiveness. Some things are unforgivable." "I agree," said Raphael. "And I thank every day that she didn't completely succeed, that you gave me a chance to correct my mistake." 5 years after Helena's birth, they had a second child, a boy, Miguel, and this time Raphael was there, for every appointment, every ultrasound, every moment. "I'm not going to miss anything this time," he said. "I learned the hard way what I miss when I'm not present." And he was present, completely, for Miguel, for Helena, for Fernanda. 10 years after that terrible day at the baby shower, the family was having dinner together. Helena 10 years old, Miguel 5. And the conversation turned to family history. "How did you guys meet?" asked Helena. Fernanda and Raphael looked at each other. They had long ago decided, when the children asked, they would tell the truth. Age-appropriate version. But truth. "We met and fell in love," Fernanda began. "But there was a difficult moment. When I was pregnant with you, someone lied to your dad, said you weren't his daughter." "But I am," protested Helena. "You are. Always were. But Dad believed the lie, and that separated us for a while." Helena looked at Raphael. "You believed the lie? Why?" Raphael took a deep breath. "Because I was insecure, and I let fear be bigger than trust. And I made a terrible mistake, a mistake that hurt your mom deeply." "But you got back together?" "We did, but it took time, a lot of work, and your mom was incredibly generous in giving me a second chance." Helena thought about it. "And the person who lied, what happened to her?" "She's out of our lives, permanently, because some actions have consequences that can't be undone." "Good," said Helena decisively, "because no one should lie about family." "Exactly," agreed Fernanda. 15 years after the baby shower, when Helena was 15 and Miguel 10, they revisited the story again, this time with more details, because teenagers deserved the complete truth. "So, Grandma Vanessa lied about Mom?" asked Helena. "And you believed her?" "Don't call her Grandma," Raphael corrected. "She's nothing to you, and yes, I believed her. Out of insecurity, out of manipulation, out of weakness. But did you fix it?" "I tried. Your mum gave me a chance to fix it, a chance I didn't deserve but for which I'm eternally grateful." Helena looked at her mother. "Did you really forgive him?" "Completely," Fernanda thought honestly. "I forgave, but I didn't forget, and I think that's important. Forgiveness isn't amnesia. It's a choice to not let the past control the present. Your dad has shown for 15 years that he changed, that he trusts, that he's the partner he promised to be, and that counts. And what if it happens again? If someone lies?" "It won't happen," said Raphael with conviction, "because I learned. And because now when someone tries to plant doubt, the first thing I do is talk to your mom. Communicate. Verify. Not assume." "Communication is everything," Fernanda added, "and that's what was missing the first time." Small omissions became big suspicions, because we didn't talk openly. Now we talk. About everything. Miguel, 10 years old, asked innocently, So people can make mistakes and still be loved? The parents smiled. Yes, said Fernanda. People can make mistakes, even grave ones, and still deserve love, if they show true remorse, if they change, if they work to correct it. But not everyone deserves a second chance, Raphael added. Some people, like Vanessa, do things out of malice, out of jealousy, and those people don't deserve space in our lives. And how do you know the difference, Torn asked Miguel. Actions, Fernanda replied. Words are easy. Actions are proof. Your dad spent years showing through actions that he changed, that he was different. That's what matters. 20 years after the baby shower, when Helena was 20 and engaged, she came to her parents with a concern. My fiancé has an ex who's complicating things, planting doubts, and I don't know how to deal with it. Fernanda and Raphael looked at each other, history repeating. Talk to him, said Fernanda immediately, openly, about every doubt, every worry. Don't let it fester. And don't let third parties destroy what you have, added Raphael. If he loves you, if you have a solid foundation, an ex can't destroy it. They can only try, and they fail if you communicate. And if he doubts, like you doubted. Raphael took his daughter's hand. Then you decide if the mistake is correctable, if he shows real remorse, if he's willing to work, like I did. And if not, then you deserve better, like your mum deserved better than the man I was at that moment. But you became better. I did, with help, therapy, work, and mainly with your mom giving me a chance I didn't deserve. Helena hugged her parents. Thank you for being an example, that mistakes can be corrected, that love can survive a betrayal of trust, that family can be built even from a broken start. 25 years after that devastating day at the baby shower, Fernanda and Raphael were on the porch watching their grandchildren play. Helena had 2 children. Miguel was about to get married. Do you regret it? Asked Fernanda. Not for the first time. Doubting? Losing those 3 months? Every day, Raphael replied. Also not for the first time. But I'm also grateful, because the mistake taught me what matters most, and made me a father and husband. I wouldn't have been without that lesson. Expensive lesson. The most expensive, but necessary. And Helena. She grew up knowing that mistakes can be corrected, that people can change. I think that's a gift, in a strange way. A gift wrapped in trauma, Fernanda observed, but a gift nonetheless. They fell silent, watching grandchildren, watching the life they had built, and understood. Their story wasn't perfect. It had started with love, had almost ended with a betrayal of trust. But it had survived, because Fernanda chose to forgive, Raphael chose to change, and both chose every day to work for the family they had. Was it worth it? Asked Raphael, giving a second chance. Or is there a part of you that will always see me as the man who kicked you out pregnant? Fernanda thought honestly. There's a part of me that remembers, always will remember, the pain of that day, the humiliation, the fear. But there's a bigger part that sees 25 years since then, that sees the father you are, the husband you are, the grandfather you are, and that part regrets nothing. Even the pain, because it brought us here, and here is beautiful, imperfect, but beautiful. Raphael pulled her close. Thank you for not giving up on us when you had every right to give up. Thank you for being worth not giving up on. And there, 25 years after the nearly fatal mistake, they understood. Love isn't about perfection. It's about choice, about continuing when it would be easier to stop, about forgiving when it would be easier to hold a grudge, and about proving every day that the second chance was deserved. Vanessa never came back, was never forgiven, because some actions are unforgivable, and she had to live with that, with the fact that she destroyed almost everything out of jealousy, that she lost everything out of malice. But Fernanda and Raphael, they didn't just survive, they thrived. They built a beautiful family from an ugly mistake, and they proved that sometimes a DNA test doesn't just reveal biological paternity, it reveals character, of who falsely accuses, of who unjustly doubts, and of who forgives generously. And in their case, it revealed something more, that true love can survive even a betrayal of trust, if both people choose to make it survive. Comment down below second chance earned, so I know you made it to the end of this video, and I'll mark your comment with a special heart. And if Fernanda and Raphael's story moved you, I have an even more surprising one to share with you. Just click on the video that's appearing on your screen now and I'll tell you everything. A big hug and see you in the next thrilling story. Bye-bye.